Good evening. It is Sunday night at 7 o'clock. It's WOSFL Weekly. I am your host, Jonny Baillie. Delighted to be joined by partner in crime, PG. How are you, mate?
I'm very good, mate. I'm delighted to be back on this show.
Tell me what you just said to me before we started.
Could we go as long as possible tonight?
No, tell the truth. Tell the truth.
I says, could we go for as close to an hour as we can, because we put up the Christmas decorations the day and we told the kids that we would watch Home Alone after putting the decorations up. I've spent the day painting my daughter's room, which I hate, and then so that was it. That's if we go beyond, we go beyond. It's my wife hates me anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Listen, we'll try our best. To be fair, I could probably do it as well. I get my missus says all the time. I thought you said it was an hour. And I think it's been an hour. Especially last week. I don't know, did you catch last week's episode?
I watched about half an hour of it, to be fair, when you were on.
Brilliant. Connor was brilliant. Honestly, I don't know. Well, maybe if we get a few quiet periods over Christmas and New Year, we'll maybe put a guest of the year list together. He's going to be near the top, man. I could have spoke to Connor for hours. Absolutely brilliant. And it's great to hear the stuff that's going on at Royal Albert. Sounds like it's club on the up, definitely.
It definitely does. It's the massive improvements. It's been massive improvement. So, Jonny, you've been an hour 20, an hour 20, an hour 12, an hour 16, an hour 9, an hour 13, an hour 5, an hour 5. An hour 23. So,
Who was that?
That was episode 9. So, who were you with?
To be fair, all this kind of talking we're doing just now is just wasted about 2 or 3 minutes, which we could.
That is very true.
Tuck into the football. But listen, we will try and, for PG's marriage's benefit, we'll try and keep it as close to an hour as we can tonight. And if you are watching, then as usual, please get in touch. Questions, comments on your team's performances at the weekend. Anything you want PG and I to discuss. Bearing in mind, this is the reason that I have PG on every couple of weeks, just so it's not a manager. We can be a bit more forthright in our opinions regarding certain issues. So anything you want to bring up, then please do so. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button. Just do it now. It takes 2 seconds and it helps us a lot. Subscribe to the Pyramid Promotions channel. And if you're listening on audio form, please download the episode, rate and review on all podcast networks. We are sponsored by Roxburgh Insurance Brokers. If you're needing any insurance needs, get in touch with those guys. GLA chauffeurs for any executive travel. I'll be traveling to a wedding probably soon, so maybe the guys at GLA can sort our missus out a nice limo to go to the wedding. And of course, VSN Sport. If you're needing some bespoke kit for your team, then Gary is the man to contact, and his number is at the bottom of the screen. PG, you're going to jump in there. What's up?
It was Tam Devine. That's who it was for 20. Aye.
Right. Okay. It's interesting, some of them. But I just, you know what it's like, PG? It's always the same. You just love talking football.
I know. I've actually been looking forward to this today.
I know.
Because I'm back in the game. So
I know you want to breach that now. Will we wait? Let's keep the listeners on until we get to the team. When we discuss them, then we'll do the big reveal. So they'll have to listen or watch all the way through until we get to that team. You know,
I tell you what, we really appreciate the great numbers. A few minutes into the show, it's already cracking numbers. So thanks everybody for tuning in so early on.
Last week the comments were absolutely flying, and I was struggling to keep up with them all. So it's absolutely magnificent. And listen, I think we probably know what they want us to discuss to begin with, don't we? So we'll start with the Scottish Cup, the Senior Scottish. Benburb losing 3-0 to Montrose. We'll touch on that first, just because I think there'll be a bit more discussion around Auchinleck. But I thought Benburb would do okay. They went behind early doors, and when you do that, you're always going to struggle. You need to keep it tight early on. And I think Benburb having the Astro, I think if it had been at the old New Tinto, maybe would have favoured them. But being on the Astro, Montrose would probably have taken to that quite easily. And whilst disappointing, it's still a massive achievement for Benburb to get to the third round.
Definitely. I think that financially, it's probably been not too bad for them to make a wee bit of money. You're looking at Montrose, and you know
that was the biggest gap between placings in the whole.
That's the thing with the Premier League, Lowland League 2, 4 leagues above them. Mm-hmm. I mean, you've got a team sitting in 8th place in the League One, beating a team sitting, I'm actually not even 100% sure where the Bens are in the first division, which it might be similar to that, maybe even lower. There's a huge gap. I think that 3-0, that's pretty respectable in my eyes. I think that's, they'd have liked to have done better, but I don't think that's an embarrassing result. So well done to the Bens just for getting to that stage, and maybe now being at the Cup, they can go and focus on their push to get promoted.
Aye, because they have picked up since the new management team come in. They've brought in a few players and stuff like that. So I think it's a bit unfair to call it a distraction, but that's that out the way, and then they can focus on the league campaign. Okay, the big one, Auchinleck Talbot going to Dumbarton and beating them 4-0. Congratulations to everybody at Auchinleck. An outstanding result, representing the level fantastically well. PG, what's your thoughts initially?
In terms of Talbot winning, I'm actually not that surprised. The margin of the victory, that does surprise me. I think that's such an impressive result. Because Dumbarton, I know they're having certain issues there the last while, but they're still a decent side. And they've got Stevie Farrell, ex-Cumnock manager, is in charge there. He knows what the Talbot are like. He'd have been right up for it. They got his players right up for it. Clearly, though, the Talbot were just unstoppable. And going based on Cycling Chainsaw Chap and Craig's comments, could have been 6 or 7, which is massively impressive. So a huge congratulations to Tucker and his team, just showing how good this level is again. And it's Stevie Farrell gets sacked after it.
Yeah, they announced that Stevie had left his post today.
I did not realise that.
Aye, disappointing. I've said before, we've got Stevie's boy playing with us at Maybole, and he said that he was a bit apprehensive about the weekend if it didn't go the way that they wanted to, because they've lost their last 3 in the league as well, 2 of which have been at home. So disappointing for Stevie, because he's a great guy, and I'm sure he'll be fine, but he'll be really disappointed. But I
wonder if we'll see Faz back managing in the West of Scotland then.
I don't know. He's got so much experience now in the SPFL, isn't he? Like Stranraer and then at Dumbarton, which he's been there for nearly 4 years, I think. So I don't know if that's somewhere that he will look at to jump straight back into, because you know what it's like down in those lower leagues in Scotland. There's always games that pop up. I did speak to Alan McCluskey last night, and he was just saying, he just kind of said the first 30 minutes, Dumbarton dominated the ball, but didn't have really much threat. And then Talbot grew into it. Connor Boyd a good opportunity, which the keeper saved, and then he scored to make it 1 each. And this gave the boys a massive boost in the second half. They were much better with their passing and ball retention. Scored 3 cracking goals. All players played their part, which was a great performance. It's just, I mean, as you say, just to go up there and win 4-0. I mean, I was on the radio yesterday morning. We all actually picked Auchinleck to win, but I don't think anybody could have foreseen a 4-0 victory. It's a real statement.
No, it definitely is. And again, like you said, you have all picked Talbot win. I'm saying I'm not surprised they won at all. They've obviously got a lot of experience, and I know this is going to sound a bit daft. I said it last season, near the end of the season, when Boyd and McAvoy were scoring a lot of goals. See, when the two of them generally score, the Talbot go and win games, and they're obviously defensively very sound. 2 of them have got a double each yesterday. They're 2 quality players and could easily play higher, like most of the Talbot team could. I think it's such an impressive result for them, and I'm absolutely delighted to see them go through.
Aye, definitely. I mean, maybe Craig, I know he says he's multitasking, listening to us editing photos for the weekend and watching the draw. We'll talk about the draw, Craig, so you're all right. You can stick with us. But I'd be interested to know how many goals Connor Boyd and Kyle McAvoy have scored already this season. And Craig might be the man.
Connor Boyd, is he 16 or 17 he's on already?
Incredible to think we're not even at Christmas yet. You know, for them to be up at those kind of numbers is just outstanding. And I hope that I pray they get a big tie in the next round. The last thing they want is like a Montrose away, no disrespect to Montrose or something like that. You know, just get them Rangers away or Kilmarnock at home or something like that. You know.
Well, Craig's actually mentioned on it, saying a winnable home tie or Celtic or Rangers away. See, for me, you would like Stranraer at home or something. I know they
Camelin at home,
something like that, where you've got a good chance of, I'm not saying you're guaranteed a win, but you've got a good chance of getting a win there. Or, like Craig says, I would love to see someday, I sound like Kevin Keegan saying this, I would love to see the Talbot or one of your teams eventually get Celtic or Rangers at Parkhead or Ibrox. I think that what it would do financially for the clubs would be unbelievable, but just what an experience that would be to go out there, and with how bad Celtic and Rangers are just now, they might just nick it.
That would be incredible. Imagine, to be fair, watching Rangers today for my sins before I took the wee man to the Christmas lights. I was struggling to stay awake at points, so you never know.
I watched the Celtic game; it wasn't any better, believe me.
I know, but massive well done to Auchinleck. It's incredible, and we will. Well, I'll have Scott Sport on in our sports scene. I think it's called. It's not Scott Sport anymore. I'll have it on in the background.
I've got their Twitter page just sitting here ready to go.
Yeah, we'll be keeping an eye on the draw, and we can react live as it happens. Okay, mate. We'll jump into the league fixtures. I've just put the results again. Thanks to the West of Scotland Football League Twitter for these images that I don't know if I'm allowed to steal, but I have. So there we go. But that'll give you the results from the weekend. Atherley beating Hurlford 3-0. I spoke to my mate who's involved at Hurlford. He just says they were poor and they're all sugar or all season basically, and that was one of the days that they weren't on their game. But great result for Atherley.
Do you know, I think we're at the stage now where we need to. It's a shame that Atherley can't get promoted this season because they're sitting in 4th place. I know they've played a couple of games more than teams about them, but they're showing, and I think Willie Dah's got to take a massive amount of credit as well. They're showing that they're on paper they're back to where they used to be. This is the best Atherley team in terms of league position we've seen in years. So really well done to them. I thought Hurlford would have maybe nicked it by the odd goal because obviously they're having a pretty solid season, and a win yesterday would have put them into 3rd place. But that's a great result for Atherley, and I think that they're showing a good togetherness. I'd mentioned on the show a couple of weeks ago I was doing watching them play the Drum and beat the Drum 4-1. The Drum were really poor that day, but Atherley looked impressive and looked quite effective. No, I wouldn't have said they were a free-flowing football side, but at the pitch on Dunterley, you're not going to be. And I thought they were very effective at what they did.
How impressive is the job that Willie Dyer's doing at Atherley? Because I think we all expected them to get promoted last year, which they did. But he's turned them into a real force. And one of the things that I'm really impressed with is when you look at the results, they haven't lost 2 in a row. And for a newly promoted side, I think that's massively impressive.
Oh, hugely impressive. I think that the job he's done is, I think we've maybe not spoken enough about it on the show. If he's sitting in 4th place, like I said, I know there's teams with games in hand on them, but they're sitting in 4th place. Really impressive. And you look at when Colin Riley was taking the team and he left, there was the talk of they had no money, they were owing players' wages. The committee have obviously done a good job, as well as Willie and his team coming in and doing a great job. And I think that they've got to be commended for that turnaround in such a short space of time as well.
Yeah, and on the Hurlford side, PG still sitting 5th in the table. Do you know what I mean? They're 2 games in hand over the likes of Atherley and Troon at the top of the table. They'll be disappointed yesterday, but I think for me, if you look at the last 6 games, it's went win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. You know, Dan Henderson must be going crazy just trying to put a run of wins together.
What I would say is maybe slightly concerning as well when you're talking about, like, I know it's been a few cup ties in there. That's a bit of heavy defeat yesterday, but these things can happen. They get battered by Vale of Clyde 4-1 the week before. They beat Pollock 2-1, but to be honest, everybody's beating Pollock just now almost. They lost to Troon, which is fine. They lost to Largs, but again, it's a team below them that they've lost to. They beat Petershill. Petershill are in a bad way right now. And then they beat the Ants. The Ants, I know it was a good win yesterday, but the difference in leagues, you know what I mean? It's really, they're not in a great run of form just now. And hopefully they pick it up because they've had a really good start to the season. Hendo's been across the course quite a few times, so I'm sure they will. There's absolutely no panic stations because they win their 2 games in hand. They're in 3rd place, so it's a great season regardless, but I think they would maybe like results to pick up a wee touch.
No, definitely. And I think I should just say that when I'm reeling off the form, it's league form that I'm talking about. So I'm not going to take the cups into account. But no, you're absolutely right. But just in case people are watching and I'm saying that they've one loss when they've now lost 2 in a row after getting beat the other week, I feel like Clyde. So Shots 7-2 against St Cadoc's. Shots, Craig's just saying there, and I agree with him. Shots are traditionally not a team that scores a lot of goals.
No.
And to see them take 7 off St Cadoc certainly might raise a few eyebrows.
Well, that was something I was actually going to bring up because we spoke about it last year as well. Shots are conceding more goals this season than they normally do because they normally don't concede a great deal of goals, even though they're still under 2 goals a game. For a team at the bottom half of the table, that's not that bad. But like Craig says, they're scoring goals now. I wonder if John's made maybe a wee couple of tweaks or some personnel changes have allowed them to go and play a bit more expansive football, because that's a great result. I know St Cadoc's, they've got troubles of their own and they're having a really bad season. But even at that, St Cadoc's are not a team that you would think you would take 7 off of. Even if you're hoping and expecting maybe to beat them, you're not expecting to take 7 off of them, and that is a really good result for Shots.
I know there's been a few of them this year in the league, isn't there? A few shockers, if you like. St Cadoc's, I think they lost 5-2 when I watched them as well, and it's just don't know we know there's you've said on the show that there's off the field stuff going on at the club that's obviously having a much larger effect, because on the field it's been really poor.
Nah, it has been. I was actually just looking through there. They had a 5-0 against Cole winning, and they also had a 7-2 in the opening day of the season against the Talbot. But I look at the Talbot one slightly different. But they're really in a poor way. And if what I'm hearing is true, and I always stress on the show that we hear stuff secondhand, so we're not saying it's fact. But if it's true, it's quite worrying for them. And if they manage to survive, which we really hope they do, I think that St Cadoc's could be looking at a really tough couple of seasons and maybe a wee drop down the divisions if it's going to be that way. But you never know. Things might not be as bad as you hear, and it might just be a poor season for him, and maybe Gary just needs a bit of time to get his team going the way he wants them to go.
Yeah. Johnston Borough, really impressive result, winning 2-1 away to Largs. Greg Mitchell, Johnston Borough coach, was just saying that the first half was they felt they were comfy, dominant, 1-0 up, all the ball out, creating loads, but still a couple of chances. Never came out second half, and they did. They scored early, and we found it difficult to get to grips with it again. Went down to 10 men, and then fair play to the boys. They dug in, got a corner kick, won a penalty, and Blair Rossiter scored it in the last minute of the game. So a massive win for them, especially under those circumstances.
Aye, definitely. I think that Arnie will obviously be really disappointed at Largs that they've not been able to get the 3 points, or at least take a point. But I think this could be quite an important result for Johnston Borough, and I have been quite critical of how their form's been. But results like that for me are really... Beating Largs down in Largs is a good result for anybody at this level. And I think that maybe shows a wee bit of character. And then we've got a bit of quality like Blair Rossiter who can change games himself at times. Then at least you're going to get away with tight games and get some 3 points instead of 1 point. So no, well done to Murday and his team. And I wonder if that's a wee result that might kickstart them and start to push them up the table, because you would really expect the Borough to be getting promoted this season.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think looking at they played their next league game. I know they've got a few cup games coming up. They play Greenock on Friday night, but their next league game is away to Troon on the 20th of December. That's massive.
Aye, it is. And it's a game that they can obviously win. But Troon, if they're serious about winning the league, which at this stage it looks like they definitely are, and they've got to go and win that as well. They need to get the 3 points.
Yeah, and looking at Johnston Borough's fixtures from the league, they've played a lot of away games as well. You know, I think that's something to take into account as well. I think they've played 5 away games, only 3 home games. They've been to Corinne, Drumchapel, Hurlford, Atherley, Largs. So they've got all these teams to play at home. So everything's there for them to make a run.
It certainly is. And I'm just looking back at their recent form. It's mostly cup games at home, but they don't lose many games at home. I mean, and like I'd say, I was down earlier in the season when they beat Cumnock at home. So, if they've got a wee imbalance in terms of playing away quite a lot, maybe their form's not quite as bad as it appeared earlier in the season.
Yeah, definitely. And Cumnock take advantage of Auchinleck and Troon not being in action to move within 5 points of Auchinleck, although they've played 2 games more, with a decent 2-1 win away to Pollock.
Did you see the goals for the game?
Didn't know. Like I said, I've been occupying my 3-year-old all day today.
So Pollock have gone 1-0 up. Cumnock have scored a cross, which was very positive. I thought, watching the highlights back, Pollock were... The pressing was pretty poor for it. They allowed Cumnock to move the ball quite easily, and then the balls went out wide, and absolutely no fault of Pollock that they lost the first goal. It was just one of the freak ones where the wingers went to cross it, and it's just went straight in the top corner. Keeper going to do anything about it. Second goal, it's a bit fortuitous for the Cumnock player. I'm not sure who it was that scored it, but the ball's kind of been about 30 yards out, and it's come to him, and he's just taking it first time. Keeper's got no chance of setting himself, lobs him. But this is another game where Pollock have been ahead. Another game at home where Pollock have been ahead, and Cumnock go and beat them. They lose again. Like, we're no hiding. It's a really tough job for Maxi. The budget's cut repeatedly, and we've mentioned this repeatedly. But 3 wins in 12. I'm not sure, maybe 5-6 defeats from winning positions. It's quite worrying for them, and I'm glad there's no relegation this season, because I wouldn't like to see Pollock go down. I think they're too big a club to go down, and hopefully they can turn it around. But at this time, it's miles away from where they would like it to be.
Like you said, losing games from winning positions. I mean, as a manager, that's got to be...
Is that a mindset issue? I mean, you've played long enough, John.
Sometimes when you're not winning games as well, you get nervous.
Mm-hmm.
You get nervous, you go ahead, you start to panic. You think teams are going to come back on you. You know, you maybe feel you don't have the ability to hold out and see out a win. So it probably is a wee bit mentality, because they're obviously good enough to compete on the football part, because they've been competitive in nearly every game they've had this season.
They don't get battled.
So it's just, and it's maybe just as well, like with these players that they've signed from the lower leagues that's been well documented. When you go down the levels, decision making is not as good, concentration is not as good. It's just a fact. And in the Premier League, like for instance yesterday, I mean, I didn't see the Cumnock lineup, so correct me if I'm wrong, but you're playing against Adam Ford, and you've got guys like that, Grant Gallagher. Do you know what I mean? Guys like that in the middle of the park and up front that have got massive experience and massive quality. If you switch off, if you do lose concentration or focus for a split second, you find yourself on the other end of defeat. So it's a really steep learning curve for these boys. But that's where I feel maybe things are falling down.
I would definitely agree with you on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, we're getting to the first division. I suppose for me, result of the day probably happened on Friday night was St Roch's beating Gartcairn 2-0.
I think that it's funny. I was talking to Josh Gardner on Friday. He was telling me he was going down to the game. And I was like, I wonder if Gartcairn, because I know they've had a couple of wee blips recently, and I was wondering if Gartcairn will be able to bounce back. But I was also wondering, will the Rock, they've fallen away the last couple of years. They've had good spells, and then it's not quite happened for them. But this season, it's been really impressive. They're on a form they're on, and that result on Friday night for me is absolutely huge. What it does for the Rock in terms of, puts them in a position where they're going to believe that they're in with a right good shout. I mean, that's 8 wins out of 10, 2 defeats, 3 games in hand on Gartcairn with 3 points behind, a game in hand on the Meda, 4 points behind. They are definitely contenders to win this league, and that rubber stamped it for me on Friday night that they are a team that can really push for it.
Mm-hmm. And as you said, that's for Gartcairn. On the Gartcairn side, that's now 2 defeats in the league on the bounce, 4-1 to Benburb and then 2-0 to St Roch's. They beat Kilbirnie, they drew with Vale of Clyde. So 1 win and 4. I suppose with the start they had, they were always going to have a blip, but they just want to get over it as quickly as they can and not let it linger.
Well, that's actually only 2 wins and 6 in the league for them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's
Considering how well they started the league.
Aye. You were thinking that it would be the Meda trying to hold on to their coattails with how they started. They were absolutely flying. McStay and Darren Barr. I still think they've done a really good job, particularly in their first management role at this level. But knowing McStay like I do, I think that they'll be looking inward and thinking, what can we do to make this better? They're not the type of guys where they'll be going, oh, this is the players not good enough for the such and such. They will be looking within. But they know this is where you go to see what they're made of managers as well, where you've got to try and turn that around and pick your players back up, because they've clearly got the quality to go and win games in this league. But like you said, when we were talking about Pollock there, confidence is a big thing. When you're not on a great run of form, you get a bit nervy, and that's where you sometimes need your management team to step in and give you that bit of confidence.
And the problem you've got with that as well is it's now out your hands, because Meadow and St Roch's can all go above them if they win their games in hand. So they've then taken that advantage. They've gave away that advantage that they had at the start of the season. And Craig's just saying about Alex McDowell stepping down at Gartcairn. I didn't know that. That will be a massive loss to them. So it'll be interesting to see where they go from there. Ardrossan beating Kilbirnie 3-0. Ardrossan had a wee stumble, a few kind of dodgy results recently, but that's a really good win going away to Kilbirnie, who started really well under Colin Riley, but have hit the skids a wee bit.
Aye, I think that's a good result for Ardrossan, because we have touched on them now having a wee blip, and it's a really important 3 points. Kilbirnie had the good lift under Colin, you're saying that. But what you're going to get now is eventually players revert back to type. You'll always get the bounce and they revert back to type, and it's hard for a management team to pick up a team who they've not been doing particularly well. Let's be honest, they've been well below par for what you'd expect for a Kilbirnie side in the first division. So the players I'm saying this without seeing them, so I don't know, but the players just might not be good enough. But if Colin and his team can make them harder to beat, then you've always got a chance. I struggle. They're not that far away. They're only 5 points away from the top 8. But I do struggle to see them being able to pick up enough points to go and make a proper challenge and getting themselves into that top 8.
No, I mean, you can see that. You can see how quickly things can change when we come on to speak about Darvel. I think for Kilbirnie in the league, that's 1 win in 6 in the league, and Ardrossan's coming off the back of a 3-game losing streak in the league to win at the weekend. But it's obviously Colin's got a bit of work to do, whether he's getting new players. I know there's been a few boys kind of going out and coming in and things like that, so he's obviously trying to do a bit of business, trying to reshape the squad in his image and get it right, but it's just whether it's going to be soon enough to get them in that top 8.
Nah, no, that is the big question. It's like you said, we're going to touch on Darvel in a second, but for talking sake, Kilbirnie win their next 3 games, they could be 6th or 7th in the league, and then they're right back in the hunt. And what I'm saying the day in a month's time might be absolutely old news and no worth anything.
Mm-hmm. Yep, definitely. Cumbernauld go to Neilston and win 4-1 again. Looks like the first 3 fixtures all away wins. Great result for Cumbernauld.
I think Neilston will be bitterly disappointed in that, because they obviously had a really good run, but that's back-to-back defeats. Well, 3 out of 4 defeats in the league, is it?
Mm-hmm.
And it's
yeah.
That I know they're playing good sides. Cumbernauld can do that to teams, and then obviously last week losing to Darvel, who are clearly hitting a bit of form, and then losing to Meda, that's not the end of the world. But I think that Andy will be looking for a bit more and no wanting. They probably want to pick up enough points where the top 8 is kind of sewn up in the next 10 games, so that they don't need to worry too much at the end of the season and look over their shoulder. But in this division, you just never know. Anybody can beat anybody.
Yeah, it's such a competitive league. It's brilliant. And Neilston, like you said, they had such a strong start to the season. I suppose it's good that they have had that, because it puts them in a reasonable position that they can, although you don't like getting beat, but you can afford a couple of defeats knowing that you've done the hard work at the start of the season. Thornywood Meadow was off. Jamie McKim would have been gutted. That was off with a chance to go further ahead of Gartcairn. But Darvel continued a really good start under Natural Novo. 3-1 at Petershill. Again, I don't know much about PG, but what's going on at PG?
I know nothing about it. I'm just, to be honest, I'm shocked that they were they were obviously, we kind of joke about it, they're a bit of the bridesmaid team who, when the top three go up, they finish fourth. Last season, when four went up, they finished fifth, kind of stuff. That's the kind of way they are. But this is another level. This is really bad. 2 wins in 11. Yeah, it's just really poor. It's for a club their size as well. I mean, they're historically a decent Premier League team at this level, and sitting in 14th place in the first division. Whitlets will overtake them soon enough. I think that under Brian Reid, you seen that yesterday. That was a good result for them yesterday. They're clearly picking up. They will overtake Petershill. Lanark, who is a new manager in a complete rebuild, and they're sitting in the same points as them. But the problem they have is Lanark are starting to turn a corner for me, whereas Petershill don't show any signs of it. So Petershill could look at potentially finishing bottom in this league, getting away with it this year because there's no relegation. But even at that, that's a really, really bad season so far for me.
I know again, like we talk about the traditional top clubs, Petershill were always one of them, and to think of the reconstruction that's coming in next year and for them not to be in that Premier League. But Nacho Novo, it's all going splendid for Nacho at Darvo. That's them up to fifth now. It just shows you, like we were saying earlier, a few wins, and now they're sitting up in fifth. And Alexander Walker's just asking there in the chat, like, where do we think Darvo will end up now? Amazing turnaround. Well, if it keeps going this way, then they'll comfortably be in one of those top 8 spots.
I don't think that it'll last completely on the smooth sailing stuff for them, because, like I said, players revert to type in a sense, and they will drop points, and it's a tough league, like I said. But they're riding the wave right now, and I think that if they can continue even anywhere near this form, another 10 games, if they win six out of that, they're putting themselves in a position where they're looking very comfortable for top 8. And it's good to see, because Darvo obviously had such highs over the last 4 or 5 years, and you don't want to see them. That was the concern, was that they were going to drop back down to the levels they were years gone by. So, it's been a great start for Nacho Novo and for Gary in there, and well done to them. Let's see if it can continue.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned there, you touched on there, Whitlets winning 3-1 against Rob Roy. That's a really impressive result, given the Rob Roy, how well they've picked up in the last few weeks. I think, obviously, we know Brian Reid's made massive changes to the squad. I think there's been 8 come in and similar numbers have went out. So it looks as if it's paying dividends going by yesterday's result.
Definitely. Just before we go into that, I just want to say hello to wee Murray. That's my wee boy's pal. So Murray sometimes watches. So hello, Murray. How you doing, pal? It's a really good start for Brian. I think it shows as well that his experience will be coming through.
I don't like Murray's profile picture much, but we'll just gloss over.
Well, it's it's been a great start, and that's his experience coming through. And then you get Michael Moffat there as well. I think that you touched on it. You were surprised at how they'd done and start the season. You were talking about Whitlets that you thought they would do well. You know the Usher game better than I do, and it's now looking like they're starting to see a bit more of what you expect. Is it going to be enough to get them into the top 8? It's going to be a big ask with 17 games remaining. But we spoke about Darvo there, 3 wins in a row. Say Whitlets win the next 3. They might be in 10th or 11th after that, and they're in a position where they can really push on. So it's definitely not too late for them anyway.
I know you could be sitting in the middle of the table, like Vela Clyde, Rob Roy, Muirkirk, Cumbernauld, Thornleywood, even Benburb, and then these clubs make managerial changes. Benburb make a change, Cumbernauld make a change, Whitlets make a change, Darvel make a change. These clubs then maybe start looking over their shoulders a wee bit.
Aye, definitely. And you look at the fixtures coming up in the league, they've got 2 weeks' time. They've got Thornleywood, then they've got Kilbirnie, then Muirkirk, then Vela Clyde, then Benburb. Then they've got a really hard run with the Rock, Medan or Drawson. But those games they're games that they'd be looking to pick up points. And it's a challenging but winnable group of games. And if they can pick up points there, they're definitely in a good position.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. It's going to be really interesting to see how they go in the next few while. Okay, into not the 3rd division, the 2nd division, if I get my slides in order. The 2nd division, Greenock beat Kilsyth Athletic. I did speak to Gary Fleming. He was just saying he was really pleased with 4 goals and a clean sheet, professional performance. Boys knew the importance of winning and staying in with the pack at the top of the table. All eyes in preparation, big cup tie on Friday night at home to Johnston Borough.
Great result. Greenock, I speak about it weekly when I'm on, or bi-weekly when I'm on. Gary Fleming has done a tremendous job at Greenock. I know that division, you've not got teams who've got a lot of money, but with very limited resources, it's a reasonable catchment area down in Greenock. You're kind of only really competing with Largs and the Port, and generally the best ones go to Largs, the poorer ones go to Port.
Is that why you played there?
That's why I played there for so long. I did get asked to go to Greenock before, and there was no way I was doing it. As much as I actually really enjoy seeing Fleming and Greenock do quite well, I don't have any ill will towards Greenock, but I couldn't have been one of the Port to Greenock bed hoppers. It wouldn't have been me. But they're under their own phenomenal. And you see they score goals, 30 goals in 12 games. They might concede 2 goals a game on average, but when you're scoring nearly 3 a game, you're giving yourself a great chance. And it's really good to see them pushing on. They're doing really well.
Yeah, definitely. And Threave move within a point of Bells Hill at the top of the table, beating Kilsyth Rangers 3-1, and Threave play Bells Hill next week, which should be a cracker.
Brilliant. I'm really looking forward to seeing how that one pans out, because Threave, 12 games, still not lost a game yet. Bells Hill only lost 1 and won 11. It's easily the best 2 teams in the league. You can see the gap between Threave and Maryhill is 10 points for second to third. I think it's going to be really interesting. And do you know, it's Threave have obviously got some resources, but they've got the catchment area, which is the issue. But they're doing such a good job. Danny's doing so well down there, and they keep their best players as well. When I again bi-weekly talk about bi-monthly, is it? I don't know how what would it be bi-monthly? Bi-weekly. Or would that be twice a week I'd talk about it? I don't know.
No, bi-weekly.
Every 2 weeks.
I'm sure bi-weekly means every second week.
Good. You've got like Ross Irvin, Harry Officer, guys that just score every week. And I think it's a tremendous job. But Johnny Fallon deserves a lot of credit, because when he took over at Bells Hill, they were floundering near the bottom half of the league, really struggling. And they just missed it last year. But this year's unbelievable. It's a credit to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it definitely is. And you mentioned Maryhill moving into third there with a 3-0 win at Maybole. The only reaction I can give from George was that it was absolutely rubbish. That's what he said. And Maryhill thoroughly deserved the victory. But on the Maryhill side, I didn't speak to Mark, but the last 2 weeks they've had to come back from 2-0 down to win. So you can imagine how pleased they must have been being able to win 3-0 and keep a clean sheet.
Aye, definitely.
I think they scored after like 13 seconds or something like that. They scored really early. Aye.
That makes it quite difficult for you if you're George and Mabel. But this is, for me, I've spoken about it for a few years now with Mark, that I really expected them to kick on, and it's maybe taking longer than I thought. But they're really putting themselves in a great position, and I think they're definitely going to get promoted this year unless they have a massive capitulation. But it's really good to see them, because Maryhill, again, we talk about Petershill and stuff. Maryhill are one of those clubs who historically are a massive club at this level. They don't have the finances they used to, but they're doing really well, and I really like to see it, because I'm a Maryhill boy originally, and I played there twice. I loved my time there, and they're just a good club. So it's good to see them doing well.
Yeah, no, definitely is. And I think shock of the day, maybe.
Yeah, definitely.
Ashfield going to Thorn and winning 6-2. Great result for the guys. For is it Peter? Peter
Hill it is.
Aye, Peter. I nearly said Peter Reid there, but that's obviously Peter Hill and his Ashfield boys. That's a fantastic result, going to Thorn and winning 6-2.
Well, that's them picked up 6 points for the last 4 league games. That type of form for a club like Ashfield will move you steadily up the field. It might not be enough to get you the top 8, but it'll move you up. And that is a really good result, because they've had a hard couple of years. I think the Thorn have found a level just now. And I don't mean that in any disrespect, because I think we've been their biggest champions on this show. But it looks like maybe this could be the level just now, that middle of the pack in the second division, which is a credit to them over where they've come from in the last few years. I did not expect that, though. That was a tremendous result for Ashfield. I wonder what happened, though, that the Thorn, you don't see the Thorn losing like that regularly. What I would say a big thing with the Thorn this year is they're not scoring anywhere near as much as they have done over the last couple of years. And again, that might be an increase in quality they're playing against, but they only scored 18 goals in 10 games. That's not like them.
It's the third lowest in the league, I think. Which
that is
with the way that they play is unusual. And I think, speaking to the manager a few times, I think they're, from the outside looking in, they're finding it more difficult when teams are being a bit more compact and a bit deeper against them, just unlocking them a wee bit compared to what they were doing to teams in the third division, etc.
I think so, definitely.
Yep, Bonneton, really good win. They move up to fourth, beating Blantyre. I thought it was an excellent result for Bonneton. Ian Waite from Bonneton was just saying that boys were very good. They got after it from the first whistle, forcing errors with a press, putting the back line under pressure. Went 2-0 up then at the moment where they conceded a poor goal, but reacted positively 5 minutes later, restored that to go 3-1 at half time. Second half was as comfortable as you liked it to be. Goalie didn't have much to do. Should have been out of sight. Good chances he created, and they scored the last kick of the ball to make it 4-1. Decent day of the office to round off 3 home games on the bounce with 2 wins from 3. Only flobbing that game against Maryhill that I just mentioned, where they were 2-0 up and they ended up losing 4-2. But great result for Bonneton, and look as if they're going in the right direction. Finally, some consistency.
You've been talking about Bonneton for ages, and we know that Bonneton can be a bit hit and miss. You can even see that 6 wins, 4 draws, 4 defeats. But I caveat that way. The teams about them get games in hand. Some of them, like Lesmay, will get 4 games in hand. Greenock get 2. Cambuslang get 2. But they're putting the points on the board, and it's good to see. It's also good for me where Pope and Ian have been there for, I think it's their 3rd season now, and it takes time, and you can now see that they're starting to put Bonneton together. And I touched on the Thorn, maybe finding a level. Bonneton obviously had a couple of really tough years when they came into the West and the Premier League get battered and the First Division get battered. And now that they've found themselves in the Second Division, they've managed to get a good management team, in my opinion, there. They're maybe starting to find a level that they might be a top half of the Second Division or a lower half of the First Division side now. And it'd be good to see them go up, to be honest, because they've worked hard and they've taken quite a few tough years. So it's nice to see them starting to really turn it around.
Mm-hmm. Aye, and I think the investment that they've made in the playing squad over the summer definitely merits them being in the First Division, in my opinion. And what about on the Blantyre side, PG? They're about, but see if that's no win in the league in 6 for Blantyre, which I'm really surprised with.
It's you go back to, they get the draw against Thrieve. They score 5 against Muirkirk in the Cup, who are obviously a league above. You're thinking at that time they're in a good place, that they've started the league really well, and then in the space of a month, it's all turned around and they're really struggling. And I'm surprised, because I thought they would definitely be one of the top 3 or 4 teams this season. They can still turn it around. They can still finish top 3 or 4, but it's definitely looking a wee bit harder for them, particularly as you look at Maryhill above them, Greenock above them, Lesmay-Hago, who probably drawn too many games, but are a good side and are clearly very difficult to beat, only losing 1 in 10. So I think that Blantyre might just be fighting to make that top 8.
Yeah, and 4th, get their first win of the season, a good 5-2 victory over Cali Locos. So well done to Jerry and the boys getting their first win. It's always good to see, but a really good result for them.
It was a great result for them. I was a wee bit surprised. Stevie Marsden, the Cali Locals manager, had messaged me saying the second half was on him. Played very well first half, went in 2-2 after a mistake for the goalkeeper. Changed shape at half time. It didn't help. Missed so many chances. Hit with a sucker punch to go 3-2 down. We get dragged into a game of tennis and lost all of our control in the game. Lost too late, chasing the draw. Should never have been in that position, as they were comfortable early for long periods. Sets them up for a really encouraging sets us back, after a really encouraging 3 or 4 weeks. Mm-hmm. That's why I was quite surprised myself that they lost, and so convincingly as well, because even though they've not been winning, there appears to be signs of improvement for Cali Locals, but the record, I can't remember exactly, I've been making up with the figures, but the record I'd heard in the last year or something, they've only won 5 or 6 games, something really small like that, and it's definitely a tough time for them with no resources, basically.
I know it's a tough job. It's a tough job, and all the best to the guys. But good for Forth to get that first win, get the monkey off the back.
Great result for them, and again, they're not going to get promoted, but see if you can win the odd game here and there. You start to claw teams in that are above you, and you kind of maybe a way that the management can keep the players going is we focus on this wee league above us. You've got your Coast Sides, your Cali Locos, your Ashfields. We go and chase them, and we see if we can pick any of them off, and just keep the players with some form of interest. Because if you're losing every week, I don't know how you manage to put a team out every week if you're 15, 20 games into the season and you've only won 1 or 2 games.
Yeah, no, definitely. And like we said, 3v Bellshill, if you're down in the south of Scotland this weekend, that would definitely be the game that I'll be going to watch. And also Maryhill play Lesmahago on Saturday as well, so that'll be a cracker as well. So second division producing the goods on the 5th of December. Go on yourself, boys. Right, okay, into the third division. Again, with a game on Friday night, another really strong result, I felt, for Knightswood going to Airdrie and beating Glasgow Uni. Michael Pender was just saying they knew it'd be a tough place to go. They watched them a few times. Pace, power, good style of play. Took the game to them, controlled the first 45. They were lucky it was only 2-0. Second half came out to the right goal, played some great football, but the boys stood strong. Eventually lost a goal in the 95th minute, a really strong win. So it sounds as if he's really, really pleased, as he should be, with a 2-1 win away to Glasgow Uni.
Aye, good result for them. Knightswood have really picked up. I thought that they were looking like, again, to go back to when we talk about the Thorn, that they'd maybe found the level. I was thinking, have Knightswood found their level? This is a particularly difficult third division for me. This isn't a normal third division. You've got 5 or 6 teams who can really push on and do something in this league. But I was thinking of Knightswood, maybe is this where they are just now? Recent results have shown that they're looking like a real good chance of getting promoted, which I think they will. I think they've got too much quality. I think also Mick's too good a manager to no help get them up. But they've needed that couple of good results recently, and I think that the result against the Port was a great one, and then that on Friday night really starts to put a bit of pressure on teams above them. And me saying that they've kind of went off it a wee bit, they've only lost 1 game in 11, so they're having a really good season regardless, but just a couple of draws and the wee defeat in there maybe knocked them for 6 a bit, but they're right back in it.
Yeah, and on the Glasgow Uni side, again, another team that had a really strong start to the season. I don't know if you heard last week, but I think that they'd played up until Friday. I think they played 7 away games on the bounce, but they had a really good start to the season, and then they've just fell away a wee bit. That's them now 2 wins out of 6 in the league recently, so they'll be looking to pick that bit back up, and hopefully, by the sounds, if the way the things are falling, they'll have some home games to fall back on and get some wins.
It's ironic because the Union normally have a terrible start to the season, and then once they've got everybody in after September and they start to gel, they start to pick up later in the season. But this is a bit disappointing. I didn't expect them to start as well as they did, but once they did, I wouldn't have expected them to fall away as much as they have. So they'll be really disappointed with that. But maybe playing away from home has hampered them a wee bit, and it will pick up. They'll be really disappointed if they're not able to hold on and try and get in this top 8 by the end of the season.
Yeah, Dorivy Craig Matt was off, which was another gutter because that would have been a crack at the top end of the table. St Anthony's again get their first win of the season, so congratulations to Monty and the guys. He was just saying it was a long time coming. They were the better side for most of the game, thoroughly deserved the win, could have been a few more ahead by half time after missing a string of chances. Pershore had a spell in the second half, which they expected, but they defended well and saw the game out. Hopefully getting the first win can settle us a bit now, and with a few new faces in and a few to come back, we'll be able to put a wee run of results together.
Well, they've brought in a couple of more experienced players because they're quite a young side then. Brought in a couple of more experienced players who are maybe helping settle them a wee bit. It's a good win for them. I know Pershore are having difficulties just now. It is the 2 poorest teams in the league playing each other. But if you're the Ants, that's a game you've got to go and win. And they did. So credit to them, really well done. I hope, because obviously I'm a former Ants player, I hope they start to pick it up. I was a big cheerleader for Monty when he got the job. I thought it was a great appointment, and I still think that Monty can get it right. He just needs to get them playing the way he wants them to play. Hopefully it comes right for them. But again, I know for a fact that the answer are a club who allow their managers to get time, which I think is great. And I'm sure Monty will eventually turn that around. Whether this season is the season he does it, I don't know. But it's good to get the points on board. And a wee bit worrying for Perthshire, Johnny, that they're really struggling to get wins now.
2 wins in 10 in the league for Perthshire, and like you say, for Martin Montgomery at St Anthony's. I think this season was always a building season, if you like, where they just had to show that they could put a team on the park that could compete and win games, and then maybe go and sign better players next year and take that leap from there. But a bit worrying for Perthshire the way that they're going. Yoker beat Girvan 3-0, really good result for Yoker. I didn't speak to Dino. I thought after a 3-0 defeat I would leave him alone. But Yoker making some adjustments to their coaching staff, I'm hearing.
They are indeed. They've somehow foolishly brought me in on their coaching staff. I wasn't on the bench yesterday. I was down watching the game. And see, to be fair, Dino was in good form yesterday. I spoke to him a wee bit after it. He was obviously disappointed, but I think that it was a kind of funny game for me. I thought Girvan were quite stuffy, and for large spells of the game, maybe about 60 odd minutes of the game, Girvan had more territory. They had quite a bit of the ball, but never really offered anything with it. I thought that Yoker defended really well. The two centre halves in particular were good. I think that I thought Yoker looked really good going forward and they took chances well. I was actually really impressed with Yoker yesterday, and I know I'm going to say that. I'm not going to sit here and say they were rotten because I'm there, but I was really impressed with Yoker. I thought a young athletic side, and to beat a good Girvan side 3-0 shows that there's quality in that side, and games in hand, if we can win them in the next few weeks and climb up the table in top 8, it's definitely a possibility. I do believe that Girvan will go up. I think that they've got enough about them, and Dino's experienced enough to get them up. But it was a good result and a good performance yesterday. It was quite an enjoyable game, be it as well.
Good. I think from Dino's point of view, I think it was funny because we spoke about it last week with Connor, where they'd had 3 games at home that they've drawn, where it makes them unbeaten, but yet they've drawn games that Dino felt they should win. And then when you have to go to places like Yoker, which is never easy, and especially I've said before for Ayrshire teams, when you go to Glasgow, you're always going to be in for a tough tie. But that's kind of bearing fruit as to what Dino was alluding to when he was talking about that.
Mm-hmm. Aye, and it's difficult. Again, I played for Ayrshire teams, and when you're coming up to Glasgow, it never really felt anything for me because that was me just having a home game basically. But it can be difficult for teams travelling up, and also maybe you'd be able to tell me a bit better. Do you think there's a wee bit of is there a bit more of a rivalry for the Ayrshire teams playing the Glasgow teams, and the Ayrshire teams' heads? There's a bit more of a rivalry.
I think there's a feeling in Ayrshire that the Glasgow teams kind of look down on the Ayrshire teams a wee bit. Mm-hmm. Whether that's right or wrong, I don't know. But I think the catchment area in Glasgow is so large that you tend to get better quality further down the divisions within Glasgow teams, if that makes sense. So you're going to be in for a tougher game. Whereas if you're looking at Dean and even ourselves at Maybole, and when you were out at Craigmart, you know how difficult it is to track players and where you're trying to get that pool of players from. So I think that probably goes into it as well. So you're kind of going up there expecting the players to be better. And like I said, there is always that feeling that the Glasgow teams do tend to look down their noses a wee bit.
It's funny as well, because I'd agree with you. I think that the lower down you go, the Ayrshire teams struggle more because the catchment area is smaller. Even though it's a large area, your population-wise, it's a lot lower. But you look at the Premier League just now, 4 out of the top 5 Ayrshire teams. I think that your top Ayrshire teams are top teams. And so I think it's, as long as I've been involved at this level, that's the way it's been. But I do agree. I think that the further down you go, the less quality there is in the Ayrshire teams, just due to population and finances.
Mm-hmm. And on a personal level, pleased to be back.
Aye, I'm actually.
Craig's saying in the chat there, I'll break it to you, that they asked me first, did Craig, they wouldn't even bother picking up the phone to me because I would have put it down before they finished the sentence. But you're looking forward to it?
Aye, mate, and they couldn't have taken you away, Johnny. You're the best podcast host in the west of Scotland, so we couldn't lose you. But I'm looking forward to it. It's been a while since, I think it's 2 years since I've coached, and I'm really looking forward to getting back onto the park. And I noticed that I know the guys at Yoker I've coached with, 3 of the 4 guys that are there. They're a lot quieter than I am, and I'm wondering if that'll make me look bad at the side of the park acting like
maybe that's why they brought you in, though. Do you know what I
mean? Maybe no, though. I don't know.
It's I was certainly, believe it or not, I at the side of the park, I was the quiet one between me and George. So I think you do need a balance, because sometimes players need that and they feed off it. And George is very good at it, and I'm not. So I think you do need that. So maybe that's the reason that they're bringing you in, because you need that wee injection of kind of noise, if you like, and enthusiasm. And I know what you're saying about being out it for 2 years. I was out it for a year when the wee man was born, and see just now, going out of the house on a Monday and a Wednesday, go to training, thinking about training sessions, putting sessions on, seeing the boys enjoying it, having a laugh. You can't replicate it, you can't beat it. So I'm delighted for you, mate, and I wish you all the best.
I appreciate it, mate. Thanks.
And but we will get stuck into you if you don't do well.
Look, it's not going to change me in terms of what I'm going to say when I'm on here every second week. I'll still be me and open myself up to criticism.
Good. Aye. Okay, 4th division, full card in the 4th division.
I know.
Outstanding. Saltcoats, what a result! Going to top of the table, East Kilbride, and winning 4-3. That's them beat Irvine Vicks, Carluke. They lost last week to Royal Albert, and then they go and beat East Kilbride away. I said to Connor on the show last week how he probably won't get the credit that his result against Saltcoats deserves. And this week's result just shows how difficult it is to beat Saltcoats, because that's a great result for Stevie Wilson and the boys.
You're looking at the amount of goals they conceded. They've conceded 22 and 13, and 3 of those were obviously yesterday. Defensively, Saltcoats, for a team who are in the bottom half of the league, they're pretty solid defensively. Stevie deserves a huge amount of credit. And I know that, see, if you don't know much about the 4th division, or if you don't pay much attention to the lower leagues at this level, you could turn around and say, well, Saltcoats are rotten. They're sitting 12th in the 4th division. That's not up to much. But being mates with Gunny, and I know when Gunny was assistant manager at Saltcoats a few years back, he would tell me it was ridiculously difficult for them. And then Brian Slavin goes in, and it's ridiculously difficult for him. Then Stevie goes in, and it's taken a couple of years, but I think what's important is there is gradual progress, but there's clearly signs of progress. And I mean, they did it with Knightswood last season. They pushed Knightswood twice, really close. I think they got a draw at them one of the games and just narrowly lost to them when Knightswood were absolutely flying. Saltcoats clearly have a wee bit about them. I think that there's obviously a mindset, not necessarily a mindset issue, but there's a wee thing that they can show that they can compete with the best teams in the league, but there's maybe a wee bit of mindset problems there where they're dropping points to lesser teams in a sense, and it's costing them to be higher up the league and maybe getting into that top 8. But it's a tremendous result because East Kilbride have been absolutely flying, and it's some job that the guys at East Kilbride have done since they've been in there. So congratulations to Stevie on such a good result.
Do you think Saltcoats maybe need another year just in the 4th division?
Aye.
Just, like that. They've had some great results, but they've not really been able to. They didn't have a great start to the season, despite I think they won their first game and then they kind of fell away, and then they've had some great results recently against the top teams. I suppose it's a wee bit like we were saying about Monty at St Anthony's. You show that you can be competitive and win games, and then hopefully in the summer you can sign a better quality of player to go for that push. But the caveat to that is next year there might only be 9-10 teams in the league, and there's only going to be 3 promotion spots rather than 8.
What I would, I suppose I need to go back and look at the 3rd division to see who could be coming down, because you're looking at
nobody's coming down.
Nobody's coming down. Sorry, that's my mistake here. So, you're looking at in the 4th division, if there is only going to be 9-10 teams, which I really hope there's not, because it devalues it a bit, but you're losing the best teams. They're gone. If you're left with Saltcoats, New Mains, BSC, who have obviously improved this year, Wishaw, Rossvale, Campbelltown, Saltcoats would fancy I don't know if it'd be a top 2, top 3 to get promoted, but Saltcoats would definitely fancy it. And I think, like you said, another year in the 4th division might just be what they need to solidify what they've got just now and build on it. So it's very possible. I think that if Stevie stays there, then there's every chance they could get promoted next season.
Yeah, and just on the division next year now, I did get sent this, and it is from the infamous Pie and Bovril, so we don't know how reliable it is, but somebody had posted that the teams that have been provisionally approved for next year, maybe Kenny can correct me if he's watching and I'm incorrect, but teams that have been provisionally approved: Anbank, Castle Milk, Edelwood, St Pat's FP, St Patrick's Sporting Academy, and 2 clubs are having their applications reviewed, which is Burnbank and Saltire City.
Tell you what, I'd say, it's just funny, I spoke to somebody about Saltire City recently, because I was wondering what the score was. They were saying they were the newest semi-professional team.
On their socials,
Aye, so it's quite interesting to see that. But I tell you what, see if you're looking at St Pat's coming in, Castlemilk coming in, and Bank coming in, that's not going to be an easy league next year.
No, they'll be strong.
That's a really, really good group of teams coming in. I don't know much about Edelwood. I know that years gone by, Edelwood had a great amateur side. But if that's the case, and I see Kenny saying they've got a lot to do to get there, so we could be looking at a few teams coming in, and I'd really, do you know the one I'd like to see? St Pat's. I'd really like to see them.
It's good that they've came back, because I think they get the hump when Knightswood took their spot, or not took their spot, but they came down to the vote between them, and I think they got the hump. So it's good to see that they've not given up, because I think I mentioned before, when I was coaching at Glenburn, we played them in the West, and I was really impressed with just how professional they were, and the amount of supporters they brought with them and things like that. So I think they've certainly got something.
They're a great club. It's actually, when I was managing my amateur team, we managed to beat them in a replay in the quarters of the Scottish, and we should never have beaten them. The fact that we beat them in 2 games was ridiculous, because they were miles ahead of us in quality at times, but they've always got good teams, and it'd be great to see that. It'd be good to see Anbank come back as well. I'd imagine, without Kenny having to go into any detail, Anbank have still got the park that they've always had. They're a team who, it's good to see them come back. So I'd imagine they've probably got a bit more there in terms of progressing into this level than most other teams are. But you've also got Castlemilk up at Barlea, and Castlemilk, they've had some work done to the facility up there, and it's looking really good, actually. So that would be a good addition as well, and it would be an intimidating place to go if they get good numbers for the scheme there as well.
Aye, I think for Anbank, I suppose it just depends how well they've maintained the facilities run about there. But I know that they use them, so I would hope that it would be. But it'd be great to see them back involved as an Ayrshire boy. Craig's just asking there about the other St Patrick's not play out where Cali Braves play. I have no idea.
I don't know them. Don't know them.
And Kenny's just saying that Anbank's the ones that are closest to getting in, which kind of makes sense, because they've got pretty much
facilities there,
infrastructure there, and Craig's just saying that they're not fully compliant, which Kenny's obviously mentioned, but sees what happens to clubs previously accepted that aren't compliant, provisionally accepted that aren't compliant yet. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the summer, but it'll be good. It's good that there's interest. It's good that there's teams interested in coming in, because we are going to lose a lot of teams in the summer to the Lowland League West, and you've mentioned the teams that they've mentioned, although there's a couple there that I don't really know much about, but the likes of Anbank and Castlemilk, etc., St Pat's, we know that everybody knows that they've got something to offer, which is important. Okay, moving on. New Mains, good win for them. 1-0.
Late winner, was it?
Aye, yeah.
I think New Mains are a bit similar to Saltcoats for me at times.
Mm-hmm.
They can go and beat teams, because West Park having a great season, but West Park will be a bit disappointed to have lost that one.
Yep, Royal Albert, great result for them last week, as I said, got down at Saltcoats, and then winning yesterday fairly comprehensively 4-0 against Wishaw. Royal Albert, see if you look at the form table for the last 10, Royal Albert sitting top, unbeaten in 10 games, yet still sitting 8th position in the league. So I think Royal Albert are on the right track, and I know Connor alluded to it on a show last week just about turning those draws into wins, but that's two wins in the bounce that we're looking to continue that.
Aye, and based on how their form's been going, if you look at, they could have 6 or 4 points extra in the next 3 games. They could potentially be, if they had played their 13 games by now, they could potentially be sitting top of the league. So I think that 8th place is a bit of a false position for them with the quality they've got and based with the games in hand they've got. They're a team that will be looking to push to win the league, and they're definitely, it's no out with the realms of possibility for them to go and do that.
Yep, definitely. EKYM go to St Peters and win 5-0. Really good result for EKYM. Graham Robertson, manager EKYM, was just saying that they scored an early goal, 4 minutes, settled them, started to play some good football, went on to score 3 in the second half. Obviously, man getting sent off for St Peters had an impact in the game, but felt they were up for it on the day, played some decent stuff. And Kenny, who's always great at getting in touch, had sent me a message just saying about that they were well beaten. EKYM, best football team that they've come up against this season, and Blues away. There was things that didn't go in their favour. He felt that the penalty that wasn't a penalty. But EKYM used their experience and wiped the floor with no complaints. Don't want to take the shine from what was a dominant match today. But they had injury suspension. They're lucky to have 14 players. Sometimes a manager, you just need to hold your head up and congratulate the other team, and that's what I have to do today.
That's a great result for them, and it's good to see them coming around as well, because we thought when they came into the setup that they were going to be a team pushing to win the league. So it's nice to see them turning it around and starting to pick up some points. And now they're sitting in 6th place. Form's picking up. They're actually only 5 points off the top of the league. Played the same amount of games, so it's not a million miles away for them. I don't think they've got enough to win the league, but I think they could really be in that top 8 spot by the end of the season. St Peters, obviously, a couple of red cards, and then, as Kenny's saying, shortened bodies, which obviously doesn't help. But I was hoping St Peters would have a bit more about them this season, because I thought they finished the season really well last year, and it's maybe not quite clicking for them. You can see the inconsistencies. 6 wins, 2 draws, 6 defeats, scored 30, conceded 29. So it tells a bit of a story itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And Kenny, just on that, Kenny just wanted me to pass on. He wanted to say thanks to Graham and EKYM for how accommodating they were and respectful, because there was a minute's silence that was carried out in aid of in response to the tragic and sudden death of St Peters under-14s player Connor Gray. So really, really sad. Our thoughts and condolences from everybody. Pyramid Promotions go out to Connor's family, and football comes together at times like these. It's a shame that we have to, but when things like that happen, football does come together.
Nah, definitely. It's a tragedy. Somebody so young to lose their life, and like you say, that thoughts are with his family at this time. It's and the St Peters family as well. It's a terrible loss for them. Yeah,
absolutely. Okay, Carluke drawing 2 each with BSC. Barry McColgan, the Carluke BSC manager, had got back to me and just said that they took the lead, started well. Their keeper pulled off a big save midway through the half, but switched off from a corner and going 1 each at half time. Second half sloppy. Carluke made it 2-1, but they come back to 2 each with 5 minutes to go. It's really good for a team like BSC, who were used to taking doings every week, to go and play a team that's at the top end of the league and go behind and still have that character to come back in the last 5 minutes and grab a draw.
Aye, definitely. It shows the difference in BSC since last season. It's just huge. Carluke, on the other hand, what a tremendous start to the season, and the wheels have kind of came off in a sense, and they're still in a great position. Win their game in hand, they can go back top of the league, and it's no end of the world. But for Tam, it's one of those ones where they really need to work hard to get them motoring again and get them back to the form that they were in earlier in the season. And I hope they can turn it around, because it was quite nice seeing Carluke, who have not had the easiest of times over the last few years, put themselves in a position to try and win some silverware.
Mm-hmm. Aye, I mean, they dropped down to third in the table. Excuse me, they can go above Irvine Vicks at the top if they win their game in hand, of course. Eglinton lose 2-1 home to Vale of Leven. Vale of Leven they've always been there or thereabouts at the top end of the table this season. Eglinton had a really good start, but dropped down to 7th in the league. But Vale of Leven going well.
Aye, it's a good win for them. I think that was a needed win. If they'd lost that, Vale of Leven are on 20 points, Eglinton are on 24. Eglinton have played 2 games less than them, and it could potentially open up quite a gap. So Vale of Leven have kept themselves in a good position, because there's only, if you look at that league table just now, I mean, Giffnock and New Mains down to 11th. They've got games in hand on St Peters, who are 9th. They're only 3 points behind. They're only 3 points behind Royal Albert as well, who are in that top 8 spot. So you could be looking at potentially all the way down to Saltcoats, maybe, that 12 teams fighting it for 8 spots. So it will be really interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it certainly will. And we've got the West of Scotland Cup and the Scottish Cup to cover quickly. PG, are you wanting to go and I can do this? Or are you
No, we'll do it quickly. We'll get it through.
Okay. I don't think there was any really massive shocks. I think everything kind of went the way that it kind of expected. Muirkirk scoring 9 against Rossvale. That's not a good look. Vale of Clyde going to Kello, which isn't easy, and winning 4-0. So really strong performance for Vale of Clyde. Lesmahago beat Ardea on penalties after drawing 3 each. Rutherglen 2, Easterhouse 0. Again, pretty standard, and co-winning beat Giffnock 5-0. Anything jump out to you there, PG?
Good result for Lesmahago to get that win against Ardea.
I actually think it's a better result. Do you know something? I think in a weird way, I think it's a better result for Ardea after last week.
Aye, maybe.
Because I don't know. Did you see Sean's interview last week?
No, I've not watched it.
To say he wasn't happy would be an understatement, and he was quite forthright in his opinion and his assessment of the game. So I was really keen. I actually spoke to him at an event we were both at on Friday. So I was really keen to see how they would get on at the weekend, and I watched his interview again after yesterday, and he seemed pretty pleased. So, aye.
I think looking at all the results, everything's pretty much what you'd expect in terms of who went through. Muirkirk beating Rossvale, it shows Muirkirk winning's no surprise in the slightest, but it shows the position Rossvale are in just now. And obviously, I think it's their old 20s manager that stepped up to take the team after Barry left, and I don't know, no chance. The Talbot have just got Celtic. Talbot have got Celtic at home. Wow, that's amazing. That is incredible.
Tell me something.
See if that's not on a Saturday when I've got a game. We've got to get ourselves down there and do a wee show down there.
I'm pretty sure we'll be covering it. I'll be covering it, and my other guys.
Wow, that's tremendous. That's the first team at our level ever to get one of the big 2. So wow. Oh, Celtic are at home.
No,
even better.
Auchinleck's at home.
No, Craig's just put in Celtic home. Is that? Maybe Celtic.
No, Auchinleck's at home.
Wow, that's amazing. That's incredible.
That's unbelievable. Here's the thing: do you think they'll move? They would move it to
reverse it?
No, move it to Somerset or something.
Would they want to?
I know. That's it. Like I wouldn't. If I was a player or a coach, then I probably wouldn't. But remember, did that not happen in the past? Somebody played at Hamilton or Albion Rovers or something like that, for something like that, because whatever the capacity is at Beechwood, then it's going to be stretched to the absolute max.
I tell you what, Balaquisha wouldn't like it right on a touchline down at Beechwood, and you've got Cycling Chainsaw chap giving him an absolute earful, or the Ika Pika Paka pole behind the goal. I think a couple of Celtic players might bottle that.
You just hear the noise of a chainsaw as he goes up the wing.
Oh wow, that's excellent.
That's amazing, absolutely amazing, and thoroughly deserved. You know what I mean? That's the thing. It's outstanding.
Delighted for that.
I know. Aye, good. So right, okay. West of Scotland, that's fine. We can get rid of that, and we'll just talk about it. So with the round 2 game, Dundonald beat Lugar 5-1. Probably not much to discuss there.
Aye.
And then in round 4, Troon beat Carnoustie 2-1. Armadale beat Glenafton 5-4 in penalties. Buchan-Avon beat Lanark, and Drumchapel beat West Calder. I suppose I'm a bit surprised at Glenafton losing at home to Armadale.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'd agree. I thought that was one that Glenafton were going to win, and Glenafton they've had a wee dip recently as well. I was hoping they'd win that because I think Glenafton, I know they've had a dip, but it's been a decent enough season for Paul Payton and his team, and that's one I expected them to win. Troon, good result, going out to Carnoustie, getting what they need today. It's well done to them through the next round. But Drumchapel as well, beating West Calder, you'd expect that, but it's a good 3-0 convincing win away from home.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't think there's much really to add on that. Good results for... No, really, do you know something? I don't know how you feel this year, but I feel like the cup draws haven't been great, and I know that's nobody's fault, right? Which probably means that we're going to get really good ties as we get down into later rounds. But when you're looking at talking every week on here on the radio about the draws and stuff, and there's not been that many ties that jump out at you. And the results have been pretty similar. There's not been that many shocks at our level this year, I don't feel.
No, I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't say so either, to be honest with you.
Although I know when Muircup beat Auchinleck and Vela Clyde beat Hurlford, etc. Greenock beat Largs. Do you know what I mean? There has been the odd result here and there, but it's hopefully things start to heat up after Christmas.
It's been a bit beige into it in the cups.
Mm-hmm. And they take up so much of our time.
It's just so boring, man. Just gives the league stuff.
I know. Next week as well, we've got the West of Scotland League Cup round 2 and round 3 taking place next week. So there is some league games, but no many.
I'm glad I'm not on next weekend.
It's just one of those things, isn't it? It's just this time of year, and I can understand why we want to get these games played, but it's get some league games in, and then games getting called off, etc., etc. It's been a bit of a nightmare. But anyway,
yep.
PG, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
It's been good. I've enjoyed it again. They only kept you on 17 minutes.
Yeah, I know. That was a longer than normal one.
So I
did get the text message like, you done? No kisses.
Oh, did you? Oh, no. Right, okay, right. We'll wrap up. We'll wrap up quickly. Thank you to everybody that has engaged with the show. As always, your comments and questions, etc., are very much appreciated. Remember, if you're watching, just before you go, hit the like button on YouTube, subscribe to the Pyramid Promotions channel. If you're listening on audio form, please download the episode, rate and review. Last word to our sponsors, Roxburgh Insurance Brokers, GLA, Chauffeurs and VSN Sport. PG, 154 goals in 37 games, still keeping it above that 4 goals a game average. So happy days. Thanks to Muircup and Shots for helping us out with our average goals. It's much appreciated. So as we always say, if you're looking for value for money and entertainment, dig out a tenner and go and support your local West of Scotland Football League team. I'm sure they will appreciate it very much. Until next Sunday at 7 o'clock, I've been Jonny Baillie. He's been PG. Take care of yourselves and each other. Cheers.
Cheers. Take care.